Chat Sports will be live for all 60 picks of the 2021 NBA Draft. So if you're excited to watch the draft right here on Chat Sports, hit that thumbs up icon and like this video. What up? Welcome into NBA Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Chase Sr., and the 2021 NBA Draft is tomorrow. Myself, Harrison Graham, will be live for both rounds of the draft. So with that, let's get to our final mock draft. We're doing both rounds, and here's what we have shaken out for you. So my top 5 remains the same, and with the first pick, the Detroit Pistons go with Cade Cunningham out of Oklahoma State. I just think this is the smartest and most logical selection because I think Cade is a guy who you can build your franchise around. An offensive orchestrator. He scores at all 3 levels. Love his passing ability and his vision, especially at the size at 6'8". And because of that size, I think he can be down the road an elite defensive player and a great offensive player right from the jump. When I scout him, I really cannot find a weakness to his game. I think he's one of the more well-rounded prospects that I have seen coming out of any draft class over the last couple of years. Number 2 pick to the Houston Rockets, Jalen Green out of the G League. His scoring ability will immediately translate to the NBA level. Really gives me a lot of flashes of guys like Zach LaVine and Bradley Beal from a scoring perspective, but also his athleticism. Pogo sticks his legs. Really hyper bouncy, and Jalen Green can get his shot anywhere across the floor. He's going to remind a lot of people of Anthony Edwards because he's going to be somewhat inconsistent on some nights, and other nights he's going to light it on fire, but I think Jalen Green could be the best scorer in this draft class. Number 3 to the Cleveland Cavaliers. You got Isaac Okoro. You got Colin Sexton. You have Darius Garland. So you have to fortify the front court in Cleveland. No better player to do that with than Evan Mobley out of USC. He is the perfect, ideal modern-day big man. Can guard positions 1 through 5, has some flashes athletically of a young Anthony Davis, reminds me somewhat of Chris Bosh, hit 12 threes last year with USC, and if he continues to expand his game to the perimeter, this dude could end up being a multi-time All-Star and one of the best prospects of the last couple of seasons. How about the number 4 pick to the Toronto Raptors? It looks as though Kyle Lowry is going to go elsewhere in NBA free agency. Perfect player to replace him with, Jalen Suggs out of Gonzaga. I thought he was marvelous as a player and as a leader with the Zags last year, helping lead that team to the national championship before falling to Baylor. And his numbers last year, really solid across the board. Like his ability to score it, has to become a more consistent knockdown three-point shooter, but is a good passer and a good leader. And because of that, reminds me a lot of guys like Jason Kidd. I know that's very high praise, but because of those winning qualities, because of the maturity and leadership, played quarterback at the high school level, I'm going to throw a Chauncey Billups comparison in there as well. I think he could end up being the most long-term solution in this draft class. I think he's going to be in the league for 10 to 13 years, being that he is going to play at a high level. So do you think the top 4 is going to go in that order as I just broke it down? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Be sure to get those votes in the comment section down below. Scotty Barnes to the Magic at number 5. He's a very polarizing prospect. Unbelievable size and athletic qualities at 6'9" with like a 7'3" wingspan. He cannot shoot at all, but he does everything else really well. I also like his passing ability as a big man, and I think he's a good fit on the Magic. James Bouknight to OKC at number 6. He's been vaulting up draft boards. Why is that? Because he, like Jalen Green, can pour it up and do it very quickly. He can be an elite scorer, and he was a very inconsistent shooter last year at UConn. But at the NBA Draft Combine, he blew a lot of people away, was on fire during his pro day and at the Combine, and it looks as though that stroke is a lot more smooth, and it's much more improved, and I think that's going to help him become a more consistent shooter at the NBA level. Golden State, are they going to hang on to their picks in the lottery at number 7 and 14? If they do, I think they need to select and pinpoint ready-to-play players. Moses Moody, even though he's a teenager out of Arkansas, can be that guy. And the Golden State Warriors could really use a 3-and-D guy. That's what Moses Moody is. Last year at Arkansas, little shy of 17 points per game, little less than 6 rebounds. I'd like to see him be a more consistent shooter, but as a 3-and-D guy, I think he could see a lot of minutes right from the jump. Alperen Şengün of Besiktas, Turkish League MVP as a teenager. Rarefied air for guys to do that in a league like that, one of the best international leagues in the world. This guy, he's going to be able to get buckets right from the get-go. 19 points per game as a teenager against elite competition, almost 10 rebounds. I'd like to see him expand his game to the three-point arc because he really doesn't attempt many three-point shots, has to add some bulk, has to add some weight. He's not that good defensively, but right now offensively, this guy shot 65% from the deck last year. He could be a multi-time all-star. Do you think that Şengün is the best international draft prospect? Unlike other years, there's not a huge majority of international prospects who I think are going to be all-star caliber players. I think Şengün has the possibility and the potential to be that. What do you think, though? Is he the best international draft prospect? Type 1 for yes, type 2 for no. Get those votes in the comment section. So because so many people are excited for our draft coverage right here on Chat Sports, we decided, hey, instead of going live at 7 p.m. Eastern, we're going to bump up that start time to 6:30 Eastern. So make sure you subscribe and join us, youtube.com/chatsportstv. We will be live for all 60 picks, both rounds of the 2021 NBA Draft. Let's move forward with this mock. Jonathan Kuminga, number 9 to the Kings. I think the Warriors could like him at number 7. This guy is a very, very raw Jaylen Brown type of player. Going into the G League season last year, he was thought to be maybe the number 1 overall prospect in this draft class, but because he was inconsistent at the G League level, and to be frankly honest with you, very up and down, sometimes really bad, making head-scratching decisions, I have him going and sliding a bit to number 9 to the Sacramento Kings to team up with Tyrese Haliburton as well as De'Aaron Fox. Franz Wagner has to become a more consistent shooter. There's no doubt about that. And if he can become more consistent, making it rain from deep, he could be a really good player for many years. I think he's an ideal fit at number 10 to the Memphis Grizzlies. Like Franz Wagner, Corey Kispert, a very good shooter. I think he's the best pure shooter in this draft class in terms of guys who just kind of camp out around the perimeter and are catch and shoot guys. His shooting splits last year with the Zags, really good. Didn't play great in the NCAA tournament against elite competition, but at the NBA level, especially when he's teaming up potentially with a guy like LaMelo Ball, if he's camping out around the perimeter, he's going to get a bunch of open looks. And if that happens when he's shooting 53% from the floor, I think Kispert could be a very efficient knockdown shooter from deep. Who's the better shooter of those two guys that I just talked about? Kispert or Wagner? Type CK for Kispert, FW for Wagner. Get those votes in down below. Keon Johnson at the NBA Draft Combine tested as one of the more athletic freaks in this draft class. As a developmental prospect going to the Spurs at number 12, I really like it. Josh Giddey out of Australia could be the smartest, most intelligent prospect. His basketball IQ is out of this world, and I think he's one of the best passers among these prospects. Going to Indiana at number 13 as they continue and start that rebuilding process under Rick Carlisle. I like the selection there at number 13. Last pick in the lottery, Davion Mitchell at 14 to Golden State. Again, the common theme for the Warriors, ready-to-play prospects. Davion Mitchell is that. A lot of people are knocking his age. I actually really like it. Defensively, flashes of Patrick Beverley and Kyle Lowry. Offensively, flashes of Donovan Mitchell. Usman Garuba, I think, is the best defender of any of these guys that we're going to break down during this mock draft. When you look at his offensive numbers with Real Madrid this past year, they're not going to jump off the screen at you. 5.5 points per game, really active on the glass, though. He's not a great or efficient three-point shooter, but when I watch him, I see a little bit of Draymond Green with his defensive tenacity, and I think if he is able to bring that defensive prowess to the NBA level, he could get minutes right away and be a productive player for a long time on that end of the floor because you always need defenders with the modern day spacing. Trey Murphy going up draft boards very quickly. Number 16 to OKC. A prototypical 3-and-D wing. Started his collegiate career at Rice, went to Virginia. Flashes of Robert Covington for me. Cameron Thomas, Really, he can score, and that's all he can do. What do the Pelicans need? Scoring guards. The pressure is on to win and make Zion Williamson happy. I think he'd be happy playing alongside Cam Thomas, who is an absolute bucket getter. Jalen Johnson, another polarizing prospect. Some people question his character. Did he quit at Duke? When he has to face adversity, does he just fold? I don't know. OKC is a really good developmental factory, so I think Jalen Johnson could figure nicely into those plans because there's no pressure for him to exceed expectations or play right away. Chris Duarte, he's 24 years old, one of the best knockdown shooters in this draft class. Going to the New York Knicks, he's going to be able to play right away, and I think he'll be able to contribute in an elite fashion right from the jump. This guy defensively doesn't take any plays off. 6'6", 190, has defensive back skills, a spot-up and knockdown shooter. Not a great creator, but when you're just letting it chuck and hitting them from an efficient clip from the outside, you're going to play a lot in today's NBA. 24 years old, that's why he's falling a bit, and there are some concerns there, but my pro comp for him because of the knockdown shooting ability and his defensive ability, I go with Danny Green. Kai Jones, you watch him and you're like, holy cow, this guy is an unbelievable athlete. He's got springs as legs. He is so raw though. But with John Collins being a restricted free agent, maybe Kai Jones could be his replacement if Collins walks. Sharif Cooper, as a passer, as a creator, a former 5-star recruit to the Knicks, what's their number one need? It's point guard. Cooper, he could be their next point guard for a long time. Has to become a better outside shooter, though. Jared Butler just got cleared with some personal health issues to move forward with his NBA career. I think he can play right away. He was fantastic in the NCAA tournament, helping lead Baylor to that national title. I think he can play right away on the Lakers and contribute for a championship contender. So I really do like Jared Butler to the Lakers at number 22. Do you think he'd be able to play right away for the Lakers? Let me know, Laker Nation, if you're tuned in watching us here. Type R for right away, type W for he might have to wait. Zaire Williams, a former 5-star recruit. He went to Stanford, and his career kind of got off to a slow start. A lot of reasons for that. Stanford was living out of hotels for several weeks to start the season. I think that affected his play. Boomer bust potential, but if he does develop, a good developmental piece for the Houston Rockets, as clearly that rebuild is on. Miles McBride, a two-way guard who, if you team him up with Zaire Williams and Jalen Green, you're looking at a Rockets team with a lot of intriguing young pieces. This guy will get all up in your grill defensively. I love that about him. Trey Mann. Some people have him in the second round. I like him sneaking into the back half of this first round. I also like the fit going to the Clippers because they need a young point guard who can score, who can also play the two. That is what Trey Mann is. His jump from a freshman to sophomore was absolutely fantastic. Denver, outside of Jokic, who do they have as a big man? Young pieces? There aren't any. Isaiah Jackson out of Kentucky, I like him as they continue to develop players there, and he could really be a seamless backup behind Jokic. Jaden Springer out of Tennessee, going to the Brooklyn Nets. Like some of these SEC players that we're talking about in the back half of this first round, I think he can score right away. That brings value to the Nets team that really does need some secondary scoring options at the guard position. How about the Philadelphia 76ers at pick number 28? They need creators. They need guys who can put the biscuit in the basket. Nishan Highland can be that guy out of VCU. I like the fit with Philly. Ayo Dosunmu out of Illinois. This dude is a guy who can get you baskets down the stretch. He performs in crunch time, and I think Campaign could walk if the Suns do bring back Chris Paul. Ayo Dosunmu could be a good replacement for Campaign. That's why I have him going to the Suns at number 29. How about pick number 30 as we round out this first round? It was pretty clear that outside of Rudy Gobert, I don't love the Jazz's options at the center spot. I think Derek Favors could be used as a trade chip because the Jazz are concerned about going into the luxury tax. So you bring in a guy like Day'Ron Sharpe, who's an excellent passer as a big man, who's very energetic, a good rim running big, who can block shots and be active on the glass, a different player than Gobert, a little bit bouncier, more athletic. That's why I think his skill set is good as Gobert's backup. Another reminder for you, we'll be live for both rounds of the NBA draft as we just completed our first round mock. Thursday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. Make sure you subscribe, turn on those notifications, and join us, youtube.com/chatsportstv. Let's pivot to the second round, and we'll go quickly with these picks here in this second round. Josh Primo, youngest prospect, going to the Bucks at number 31. I've really become a fan of him of late, because he could be a good 3-and-D guy. He's also pretty bouncy. Josh Christopher to the Knicks at number 32 out of Arizona State. Rokas Jokubaitis. He's going to remind a lot of people of Thomas Satoransky of the Chicago Bulls, going to the Orlando Magic at number 3 out of Lithuania. They definitely need a backup point guard. Jason Preston, a great story. Really, a lot of people became familiar with him because of his appearance in the NCAA tournament. I think he was like homeless at one point throughout his life, doubted as a high school prospect. To go to OKC at number 34, you have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, you have Jason Preston, two good young guards to build with. He's an excellent passer coming off the pick and roll. Quentin Grimes to the Pelicans at number 35. They need scorers at the guard spot. That's why I like Grimes. How about picks 36 through 40? BJ Boston to OKC, Charles Bassey to the Detroit Pistons, Joel Ayayi to the Chicago Bulls at number 38. Austin Reeves, producer Sam Brown's favorite player, because Sam Brown went to Oklahoma. That's where Austin Reeves went. Kind of reminds me a little bit of a guy like Bogdan Bogdanovic, because he can create and also shoot it, going to the Kings at number 39. Isaiah Todd out of the G League Ignite, overshadowed by guys like Jalen Green, as well as Jonathan Kuminga, going to Memphis at number 40. 20 picks left. JT Thor out of Auburn to the Spurs at number 41. Jahan Begarin out of Paris to the Pistons at 42. Aaron Henry out of Michigan State to the Pelicans at 43. Herb Jones out of Bama to the Nets at number 44. David Johnson out of Louisville to the Celtics at 45, because the Celtics don't have any first-round picks because they gave it up in that trade for giving away Kemba Walker, bringing back Al Horford, as well as Moses Brown. Greg Brown out of Texas to the Raptors at 46. Joe Wieskamp, he can really shoot it, out of Iowa to the Toronto Raptors at 47. Kessler Edwards out of the basketball powerhouse that is Pepperdine to the Hawks at number 48. Jeremiah Robinson Earl, I think he has first-round potential. Some mocks and experts have him slipping just a little bit. If the Nets get him at 49, that's excellent value out of Villanova. Sam Hauser out of Virginia, going to the Sixers at 50, because he's a forward who can shoot, fills a need there. Luka Garza, I like his ability to stretch the floor as a big man who can knock down shots at more than a 40% clip from deep, but he is awful defensively. And in the modern day NBA, when there's a lot of pick and rolls being run, my gosh, Garza could just get picked apart in those types of situations, but I like him as a knockdown shooter and floor stretcher as a big man. Aaron Wiggins out of Maryland to the Pistons at 52. Isaiah Livers out of Michigan to the Pelicans at 53. Vrenz Blyenberg to the Pacers at 54. Jericho Sims to the Thunder at 55. He is so bouncy, but really can't do anything else but dunk it. Like him as a developmental prospect, though. Moses Wright out of Georgia Tech to the Hornets at 56. Justin Champagnie out of Pittsburgh to the Hornets at 57. Daishen Nix, also of the Ignite, to the Knicks at 58. Maybe they'll be able to develop him because Tom Thibodeau is good at doing that. Neemias Queta out of Utah State to the Nets at 59, because I really just think DeAndre Jordan is washed. And Matthew Hurt, final pick of this draft, number 60 to the Indiana Pacers, as that rounds out our 2-round NBA mock draft right here on Chat Sports. So before we get out of here, grade this 2-round mock for me. Get into the comment section and sound off A, B, C, D, or F. Let me know what your grades are down below. Cannot wait to break down all of these picks and all of these selections tomorrow night, Thursday, on our main Chat Sports YouTube channel. Hit that red subscribe button down below, or go to youtube.com/chatsportstv. Myself and Harrison Graham going live at 6:30 Eastern for the 2021 NBA Draft. We're going to have a lot of fun, so come join us, come hang out with us on the most NBA draft coverage, most watch NBA draft coverage right here on YouTube.